This is a story about wheelbarrows. They're very, very useful things, and we usually have 3 of them, but they're all quite old, and 2 of them have parts that have rusted out and they're becoming useless. So this is an exercise in cannibalizing those 2 wheelbarrows to make one good wheelbarrow. I'm going to call these out by brand. This is a Kelso. You can see the bucket is very rusted, and the lip is deteriorating and it's just no good anymore. It's good rain gauge, but we've got good wheelbarrows for that. Here are the parts of the Stanley. The arms are severely rusted out, the struts were broken, the guard to protect the wheel had broken in half, and this is how bad it can get. The struts to support the bucket itself had rusted and broken off. The front guard to protect the wheel was basically rusted right through as well, and the legs or the base for the wheelbarrow was very, very rusted, and I basically cut the bolts off with an angle grinder so I could actually remove this. All in all, I don't see any particular use for all of these pieces. They're just rubbish now, so they will end up being put out on the front street. But fortunately, I can make a whole good wheelbarrow out of the bits that I've preserved. So now inside my workshop, and these are the components that I've rescued from our dilapidated barrows. These are all in pretty good condition. This is a plastic bucket, and the struts show very little sign of any rusting and are good and solid. Likewise, the under platform that gives it a bit of tilt is all the same plastic, and there's no problem there. Over on the bench, here are the arms from the steel bucket that is really rusting out and is going to be tossed. And these were galvanized, where you notice the ones outside were painted and rusting. There are a few spots of rust on here, but they're not bad. And I'm treating these with vinegar, which is brilliant. I saw it on an ABC Gardening Australia show. And all of the bolts and small components are sitting here in vinegar. They've been here for a couple of days, and a good wire brush will get all of that scale stuff off and restore it all, and they should look a lot better. Similarly, the wheel guard from the this plastic bucket is in pretty good nick compared to the others, and I can get that rust off. So take a couple more days. I'm going to let them soak, reapply some vinegar onto these bits of rust here, and we'll see how we go. So given they're all over 20 years old, or very nearly, I'm going to at least get one good reliable wheelbarrow from 2, and then it'll be a trip to the famous hardware store to get a 3rd wheelbarrow again. Well, of course, cannibalism has its costs, so here I am at Bunnings. I had to come and get these 2 bolts because of all of the bolts and adding wrong parts. I didn't have one that size at home. So there you go, part of the game. Ta-da! Here is the finished wheelbarrow. And what I've learned from this exercise is that what seems to be good and reliable is plastic buckets with galvanized arms. Now these are galvanized, they had a few spots of rust, and I had a spare can of spray paint, so I painted it this lovely lime green. So we have the arms and the green from the old rusted bucket. This is the wheel from the one that has the rusted arms and its fittings. Now it's all quite pitted, but I've cleaned it all up in vinegar. I've spray painted them. I've taken the guard off the other one and fitted this guard onto here, so that required new holes to go in, and I've put the body of one onto the arms of the other, and that meant a trip to Bunnings, as you saw, to get these bolts. So I'm just going to go stand it up and see that it works. I'm waiting for the big reveal. Here it is, the new revitalized, cannibalized, well, repurposed. Not really repurposed, because it's still doing the same thing. It's a wheelbarrow. I've had to add a few new bolts and reshape a few things. The last thing I did was these two struts that hold the body up, and all I needed to do was take them into my vise and give them a bit of a bend, and magically they fit. These were a little bit rusted, but like everything, I've cleaned it with acid and not very well painted the whole thing. So there we go, a really cool wheelbarrow that should last, I reckon, another 20 years. And now there are two, and they look a lot more alike. This one in front is still serviceable. It's probably, I think it's 20 years old, or very nearly, and it was it's done itself very well. We've had no dramas with it. This is the new one over here that's been rebuilt, and of course I have a third one. I did have to go to the shop and get a third wheelbarrow because we do need 3 wheelbarrows. Well, I don't know how that happened, but a third wheelbarrow has magically appeared. So let's have a quick look at that. This is what I've learned, as I mentioned before. Good solid black plastic body, galvanized arms. Notice the wheel setup has changed to just having some more steel tube as the holder, and that's already galvanized. Simple bolts, simple straps. The feet are probably just as strong, but a lot less weight. There's a lot less steel in this set of feet than in the older ones, which are tubes. So I guess economy always happens, and invention and refinement happens. So there you go, wheelbarrows.